Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome to this video. Today we're gonna talk about training subject, which is how I got big fast. I want just to give the most important tips that allowed me to basically become big in a pretty quick time, what I consider a pretty quick time, starting from a very skinny place. So all these tips obviously are gonna be helpful to you. You're gonna be able to use them as well if you're starting from a skinny place, or if you're starting from whatever place. I think these tips are not only just subjective, they're also objective, so they're for everyone. So I hope you're gonna enjoy this video. I'm gonna really try to give you the most important things to focus on if you want to go from this skinny place to quite a massive physique in no time. And when I say no time, obviously we're in the natural bodybuilding, so most of the people would say that getting as big as I did in 2-3 years would probably take 5-6 years, and that's true. But that's true if obviously you don't have these tips that I'm going to share with you, and if you're not ready to work hard toward this goal. So there is no magic that I'm selling or anything, but obviously I think that what I'm going to present to you is achievable in 2 or 3 years with the tips I'm going to give you, starting from a very skinny place. Let's get started. So here are all the factors, the main factors that allowed me to get pretty fast results as a natural. And the first one was that I was motivated. I was basically very motivated as a 15-year-old kid that was pretty skinny. I wanted to get quick results. I wanted to smash the gym. I liked it from the start. And so I know a lot of people, or some people, they're not really motivated, and usually it comes from having a routine, a habit that then becomes something that they enjoy. But for me, that was just, I was plain motivated. And I think a lot of people that start from a young age to start lifting are usually motivated, so that's not something that should be missing from you. You should probably have this motivation as I had when I started. So most of the people watching this video into natural bodybuilding, wanting to be a bigger physique, I'm expecting them to basically like natural bodybuilding as much as I did, and to have this motivation from the start, this motivation that will fuel your journey basically and give you a good kickstart. Although if there's some people that watching this aren't in this case, they're not very motivated, what I'm going to give you in this video are very important tips. So these tips are going to give you results quickly. What I say usually is that some people, they might not really like bodybuilding, but as soon as they get into it and they do the right things giving them results, they get hooked pretty quickly. One thing that probably make people stop exercising is that they start, they enjoy it, they don't really enjoy it, whatever, but one thing that will discourage them the most is obviously not having results. And if they don't have good results, usually it's because they don't really know what they're doing, and so they get discouraged and they quit. So here in this case, obviously, get started, start implementing 2-3 times a week going exercising and make it a habit. But most importantly, start making this habit with something pretty solid, something with good tips, something that actually is going to make you improve. Because after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you start seeing decent results and even better results than the beginner would do in the beginner phase, improving no matter what they do, well, here if you actually know what you're doing, you might as well get even better results that if you didn't know, obviously, and it's going to hook you pretty fast, and you might get motivated from going to the gym again and again. Not make it a punishment to go there, but obviously something that you start enjoying. So motivation was for me obviously something that's always been there, and that I owe basically my results to. Wanting to have goals, wanting to reach a certain level, and loving the sport as it is was obviously something that really helped me always getting results in the most difficult moments, still training, etc. The second thing that you might want to do, if that's something if you're young, and I realized because I was young myself, was that I started early gymming. A lot of people will tell you obviously don't start gymming too early because you're not going to grow, etc. Well, it's not really true, and it depends how intense you're going at the gym. If you're obviously going to go very heavy squats, very heavy deadlift, compound movements, whatever, your form is not the greatest, and you start this as 14 years old, yeah, obviously it might not be the best for your development. But if you're 15 years old, if you've already grown quite a lot, and that you're not going to go super heavy, but just start learning the technique, go with pretty decent weight, not go too heavy, not take risks, then there is no problem. You're still going to grow. When I started, I was 5'7" and I ended up at 6'2", and I did bodybuilding quite hard from the age of 15. So I think you'll be fine. And if you start from an early age, so like 15 or 14, something like that, then when you get to 18 and you've been training well, for 3 years you've been training with the right methods, hard, etc. At 18 years old, you're big, literally. I mean, that was pretty much the case for me. At 18 years old, I was already pretty big, what you consider big for an 18 years old guy. And so obviously starting early was good. I was full of energy. Obviously, if we talk about testosterone levels, although I think it's a bit exaggerated usually what people say about testosterone levels, obviously at 15, 16 you have pretty high testosterone levels and you're pretty in an energetic mood. So starting at this age is good. You're gonna be big by 18 if you start at 15, so that's a good thing. Coming back to motivation, I was training as much as I could for my level. I've always trained as much as I could for my current level. So you might wonder, what does training as much as you can for your level means? Well, there's some good indication for that. I could say that the first year you can train 3-4 times a week for like 4 hours a week. That's like probably the maximum you should probably do when you're starting. If you do more, it's probably gonna be too much as a beginner. Like 4 or 5 hours a week is quite a lot for a beginner, and that's definitely enough to put on gains. I don't like really the term overtrain because too many people use it, but you might train a bit too much for your muscles to recover, and it might be a bit too much as a beginner. It might be a bit overwhelming. So 4 or 5 hours a week is great. That's basically what I'm saying by doing the most you can do for your current level. Then after 2 or 3 years, I'd train 6 or 8 hours a week, and then after 3-4 years I'd do 10. It's gradual, and I'm always training as much as I can for my current level. I don't want to train too much, but I'm still training a lot, but not ridiculously high, mostly when I'm a beginner. If you want the best results possible in the best time frame possible, then that's my advice. Train as much as you can for your current level. Something that I want to emphasize is to anyway not be scared of overtraining. If you feel like people tell you to do 4 sets of biceps curl or something like that, and you feel like doing 5 or 6, and you feel like pushing it in your sessions and sometimes going to failure, not all the time, you have this drive, you just want to make good sessions and you want to give it 100%. Then sometimes go for it. That's also how you grow. What you don't want is fall for bad training techniques where you're gonna go for failure every time, and you're not gonna try to progress. You're not gonna have to have a smart program and you're gonna do biceps curls every day or back every day, like something not very intelligent. It's not because people online they say, oh, you shouldn't do more than 3 hours a week, otherwise you're not gonna grow, that as a beginner that you should do 3 hours and not more. If you want to do 4 or 5 hours, as long as you listen to your body in a way and that that you can probably do it, and that you're not knackered, and that you don't feel cramped, and that you don't feel too much soreness, that you don't feel like you can't work your biceps, for example, again after 2 days you've done them, then go for it. Don't be scared to train too much if you feel like you can do it. Yeah, that's something pretty important, because I used to see on the forums everyone saying, oh, you're doing too much. I used to post on forums, telling them my program, and it's true that this program after like a year of training could look like a program that someone would do after 4 years of training, but I was that motivated that I just wanted to do a lot, and people would tell me, oh, you're gonna be injured in 2 months, and I would just do it, and I'd be like, why are these people so negative about what we can potentially do as naturals and as beginners? People are quite pessimistic, and they don't really believe that they can do much because all of these ideas, all these bro science, etc. So don't be scared to train too much if you feel like you can do it. That's the tip that I could give you if you don't really know if you're doing too much or not. If you feel like you can, if you feel like you're rested enough, even though you do quite a lot and you think you can do more, go for it. Alright, a very important tip here is that obviously I had the right information straight from the start. I think that this is something that helped me tremendously to get fast results. Despite what we talked about, the motivation, being obsessed with the gym from an early age, etc. One thing obviously that almost beat it all is that I had the right information from the start. Without this good information, obviously it would have been harder. I would have probably made more mistakes that I probably, already did in some aspects. So I found, natural bodybuilding website straight from the start, and I would follow this, natural bodybuilding tips that I would see. I would see these people, and I trusted them. I trusted they were naturals because they would talk in an honest way. I know I was dealing with people that were honest, and they had very inspiring physiques. And straight from the start, I would obviously listen to them, and I always listen to them after I built my own experience, because I would, do my own things, realize a few things, but the basics, the base is here and comes from the right information from natural bodybuilding website. And this is why my advice for you is, obviously, if you want the right information from the start, is to stick to natural bodybuilders, the ones that are in the fitness industry. Geoffrey, Verity, Schofield, natural hypertrophy. I want to say myself, obviously, I'm gonna give you good tips to improve. So stick to natural bodybuilding information, because in the industry it's gonna be hard to spot the right information. And if you don't want to take the risk to not listen to the right information, I'm not saying enhance people, always give bad information, but if you don't really know, you're a beginner and you can't really make the difference between what's true and what's wrong for now, then listen to natural bodybuilders. Most 90% of what they'll say, if they're really natural, they've got great results after years of training, they will literally always probably tell the truth. So if you don't know where to find the right information yet, before you build that experience yourself and realize what's true, what's wrong, listen to natural bodybuilders who have great results. Another great tip that helped me getting big fast was obviously to eat big to get big. So obviously, when people say eat big to get big, it could be understood as binge eating, etc., eating like a 1,500 calorie surplus a day. No, when I say eat big to get big, it just means basically eat enough and don't be scared to eat. That's something obviously that really helped me escaping the stagnation phase. I could have stayed forever, a bit like the friend zone if you want to compare. It's like you never improve because you never pull the trigger on eating enough food. And so obviously as a beginner, no matter what you do, you'll have some improvement, but at some point if you want to push further, there is that thing as a natural that you've got to do. It's at least a small calorie surplus that will help you get this momentum going, this energy, driving better strength results in the gym, and these strength results will drive also better muscle results. More muscle, more strength, more muscle. It kind of all goes together. But basically, yes, it's important to eat. It's better to eat more food than not enough, in my opinion. You might put a bit on fat afterwards, but you'll always be able to lose it, and at least you'll understand that you're progressing. You'll make some progress, and you'll unlock basically this in your brain that, oh, I know how to progress now. I'm progressing, and it's better to put a bit of fat than not at all, and always stay skinny or not getting results. So don't be scared to eat. A great tip that helped me getting results quickly, and I'm gonna be very straightforward here. It's about focusing on the basic exercises, and to try and split them the best way possible in your weekly routine in an intelligent way. So you don't want to, for example, do triceps and the next day chest and the next day shoulders. Try to pack the muscles that go well together. So these three, for example, chest, shoulders, and triceps could be a great example of a workout. Try to do your muscles twice a week. Not a very high volume, but a good frequency. Give your muscle enough time to recover in between the sessions, the same muscle that you're working, and try to have a pretty good frequency. So twice a week should be good as a beginner. Not too much volume on these muscles yet as a beginner. Twice a week is a good frequency. At least for the biggest muscles, this is a good idea. What you want to do, a good tip as well, is to implement strengths pretty quickly in your training. So implementing strength cycles, for example, on the bench press, on squat, or on deadlift, these kind of compound movements is something that you should do. Start forcing a bit your progression, start implementing strengths, that strength training that will obviously get you stronger quicker, which will transfer to when you do higher reps and you work, the hypertrophy aspect of your workouts. Strength training is important, in my opinion. In the long term, you will have better results if you mix strength training with hypertrophy training than just doing hypertrophy training, which is just higher reps. I think that strength training offers you to gain strength quicker, as I said, and the strength that you gain applies to your hypertrophy work, which actually gives you better muscle results quicker. So I think implementing strengths at the start of your workout is a good idea on compound movements if you're a beginner. and then as you get more advanced, you can also do strength on more isolation movements and go heavy, do lower reps. I think that it really helps with getting bigger quicker. Something that I always took seriously was training arms pretty hard, and I think at the end, after the years, it really makes a difference on your physique. You see a lot of people will obviously focus on compound movements and train a bit like powerlifters, where they really just focus on bench press, squat, deadlift, and they will do overhead press, for example, and they never really do arms seriously. They just spend some time on the cables doing arms, and 5 years later, they have a good frame, but they don't have really arm results. And something that really stands out on a bodybuilder physique is having big arms, because a lot of people actually don't really manage to grow their arms. Training your arms well and starting from the start is something that will give you, I think, really a big difference on your physique as you grow and as you make progress. It will make you look big. Big arms, don't neglect it on a physique. It makes a big difference. Something that I never did was also to take too much rest. Because that really kills the momentum. I see a lot of beginners or even people later on, they allow themselves to take a week off. And it's not that I don't want you to take a week off, but at least if you're gonna go on vacations, etc., try to do 1 day or 2 days if you're going on a 2-week trip or 1 week. Just a little bit of workout, not too much, but just something that really maintains this dynamic, that momentum that you have. You want to basically just maintain at least this strength, and if you stop many days in a row, or like a week or 2 weeks, you're gonna nervously really break the momentum. You're gonna lose strength, and it's a bit stupid because you only had to do 1 session in that week to at least maintain that strength when you come back to the gym later on after your vacation. So you really just need to make that effort of 1 session in 1 week if you're going on vacations to maintain this muscle and this strength. So I would never take a full week off. If I wanted to take some days off, I would always try to still train a little bit to maintain, so I don't completely go off and turn off my nervous system and my muscles, etc. You want to never really take long periods of time where you're off. So try to be as regular as you can, and if you go on vacation, try to do a little session here and there just to maintain that all this progress that you've been making, and so you don't get back to the gym and lose this basically momentum, this motivation that you had, because that's when you go back after a week of stopping to the gym and that you realize that, oh well, all these bars, they feel very heavy, that you might actually get discouraged and stop another 2 or 3 days, and then that's when you totally stop gymming. You want to always keep this regular training activity, and it will push you to never get discouraged basically. So these are the main tips that I've been following, and after a year or 2 years of training, I was getting great results. And then obviously you always learn more, and here are literally the tips that made me skyrocket my results. So these results that I gave you were already great ones, but here I really want to give you one that I think is the best, where I've really upgraded, I could say, my knowledge. And this was not really because I read this online or anything. That's just experience, because I had to. That was I was stuck in a boarding school, and I had to train in a certain way where I would really specialize into certain exercises, because I didn't have many exercises that I could do when I was there. I just had dumbbells, etc., and I started to just hammer basically sets on specific exercises, and to really starting to focus on certain exercises. So for example, lateral raises doing 20 sets, biceps curls doing 20 sets of just that. And it really made me realize that when you start focusing on certain exercises, you don't try to do too many exercises, and you really focus only on the few that matters, you get great results, because you progress faster on these exercises, which drive obviously more strength, more muscle results. And so no point doing 5 exercises for biceps when you can do 2. Do more sets on these 2 exercises and actually get better results faster. So specializing is obviously always something that I say again and again. This is one of the best tips that I can give you. Start doing less, focus on quantity based on quality. Make a great quality exercise selection. A quality of just a few exercises basic good exercises which matter and apply quantity on them rather than try to do quantity without quality, etc. As soon as I started, specializing and focusing on what matters and applying quantity on what matters, I started to have this, massive look. Literally, it really brought me results that in the first 2 years I got in 1 year. And if I had started earlier, maybe I could have got even better results. So this is why this video is important. As I said earlier, implementing strengths is good on compound movements, but something that also, got my results to the roof, in addition to specializing, was to starting, to force to do lower reps and start, forcing the progression also on isolation exercises. Isolation exercises are always seen as exercises that have to be done with high reps, and that can be something that, obviously you want to be careful with isolation exercises, because usually it's not like compounds where you have many muscles involved in one exercise and it's safer in a way. If you do isolation on biceps, for example, you're really just targeting your biceps, which are a small muscle with more or less, fragile tendons, and obviously that's why people don't advise to go heavy on these things. But if you warm up very well, that you're well focused, well aware in your training, you can go heavy on these exercises like curls, etc. And so you want to start, forcing the progression and do strengths as well in isolation, so-called isolation exercises that are usually seen for hypertrophy. That really helped me going another mile. I improved faster because I was forcing the progression and going, doing strengths on these exercises. And so when I was doing more hypertrophy at the end of the session, I could see also, an improvement on higher reps schemes, and so this gave me better results. So as I, talk about specializing here in this video, I also wanted to specialize by giving you some of the most important tips. Last advice that I could give you, and that obviously is not something that I especially implemented, but that could have been interesting and something that I've heard Alpha Destiny say, is that obviously if you focus highly on the big muscles of your body, obviously you might look bigger quicker. So when I started, I would do back once a week. I would do almost twice a week, but back I would do it once a week. And maybe if I trained back twice a week, I would have got, obviously it's a big muscle and my frame would have, looked bigger quicker. So obviously training on big muscles and focusing on them might make you look bigger straight from the start. So legs, back, if you do shoulders, these areas that are extremities of the body, it might make you look bigger quicker. I talked about arms, which are in my opinion important, but if you want that frame and to look bigger quicker, maybe you might just want to do them once a week, and to look big quick, you might want to do the big muscles straight from the start and really focus on them and give the 2 times a week workout frequency to these muscles first. If your goal is really to have this frame, your frame look bigger and escape the very skinny zone quicker. So I hope you enjoy these tips. One last thing I will say is that once you have these tips and that you implement them, apply them at the gym and do the best you can at the gym. But when you're outside the gym, also take time for yourself to enjoy other things. One thing that I did, obviously, and that's obviously got me great results, that I was obsessed with gymming, and even when I was outside I would think about my next session. So I was in a constant state of awareness of being focused for that, and obviously eating outside the gym and doing things well, in the diet part, etc. So you want to do that, but you don't want to spend your time spending about your next session when you're not there. Particularly, you also want to take time to enjoy other things, and don't worry if you apply this when you're at the gym, well focused there, you will get great results. No need to worry about your next session when you're not there either. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope it's gonna allow you with some of these tips to get big quickly in 2 or 3 years as a natural. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time to try to give you again some of the best tips that I have for you as a natural. Take care, guys, and thank you.